Good afternoon. My name is Steve Nixon. I'm a mechanical engineer and a project manager at the National Renewable Energy Lab. And I am a renewable energy and energy efficiency enthusiast. I'm passionate about it, have been for many years. And today I'm going to talk to you about the new home path to net zero energy, featuring our home, which we call Colorado Sunterra. My wife Dana and I built Colorado Sunterra in 2012. It's all based on our own design concepts. Its name derives from its key features of being passive and active solar and having earth sheltering on the northeast and west sides. It includes many energy efficiency and sustainable features, which we will be talking about as we go through this presentation. So from the front of the house, which faces south, some of the key features are its orientation, which has the long side of the house facing to the south. We have solar heat gain windows on the south side, so they absorb a lot of the sun's heat during the winter time and bring it into the house. We also have optimized overhangs, which shade most or all of that sunlight in the summertime, so we're not getting all of that heat in the summer. We have minimal tree shading so that doesn't keep the sun from hitting our house. You can see the high windows are clear story windows. Those provide daylighting, winter heating, and summer ventilation. You can see in the picture, which is a summertime picture, we have a couple of those windows open. It allows chimney effect ventilation. We also have an active PV system on the roof, a little bit under 8 kilowatts, and that is on a roof slope that is optimized for this location, which is Arvada, Colorado. It's a south-facing slope, and it's a 912 slope, which is optimized for maximizing the annual energy production from those panels. There are also no penetrations in that south-facing roof, which gives lots of flexibility for mounting those solar panels. We also have a lot of sustainable landscaping features. Our buffalo grass lawn requires no water, no fertilizer, and best of all, no mowing. And our plantings are mostly low water, except for our vegetable gardens, which obviously are generally not low water. It's all drip irrigation. We have no spray or sprinklers. That irrigation is relatively light in its water use because of the dry climate that we live in Colorado. On the back side of the house, you can see, this is a construction photo, but you can see a few features. You can see the earth sheltering. The north slope is slightly different than our south slope. It's a little bit shallower slope, which is optimized for the December sun, which you'll see how that works from the inside on the next slide. We do have 3 solar tubes that are penetrating this roof that provide daylighting to areas of the house that might not have a lot of windows. The garage is there on the left, and our master closet is on the far end of the house on the far right. And we have minimal windows. You can see that on the north side, we only have 3 windows back there, and on the east and west sides, we only have 1 window. Those windows, northeast and west, are generally not a good idea for energy efficiency because they don't gain any heat from the sun, and they do allow a lot of the cold winter winds and winter temperatures to penetrate through those less insulated areas of the house. So this was done during construction, so the area of the foundation walls that are not covered with earth have been since then, so there is more earth sheltering than you can see in this picture. On the inside, this is where you can see the optimization of the north roof slope. This is the sun coming in through the clear story windows at the end of December, and the sun still penetrates all the way to the back wall of the house, where we have some thermal mass to absorb that. So we do have the earth sheltering. You can see on that north wall we have a dark tiled foundation walls. So when the sun hits those tiles, which is more in the November and January timeframe, the sun is readily absorbed. Where the sun is hitting that drywall wall, we also have phase change material behind the drywall. That is, it's little gel packs that sit behind the drywall, and these little gel packs freeze and melt at about 73 degrees. And in that process, they absorb a lot of sunlight in the melting process. And then as the house starts to cool off, they refreeze, but in that process, they're giving off their heat into the house to keep the house at a more constant temperature. And all of our floors are concrete. They're a stained concrete. They're somewhat dark colored, so they also absorb a fair amount of the heat from the sun, and again provide us with significant thermal mass to warm up during the day, and then they hold on to that heat for long periods of time into the evening and through the night. In the summertime, it's just the opposite. We open all the windows at night and we cool the house off. All of the thermal mass cools off and then is ready the next day to start absorbing some of that excess heat so the house doesn't get too overheated. We do also have a fair amount of interior windows. You can see at the kind of the top center, we have windows that go into our pantry from the kitchen. That just allows some of that clear story lighting to go into that pantry and laundry room. You can also see we have ceiling fans. We do not have any air conditioning in this house. So the ceiling fans and the natural ventilation is our only cooling method, and we do use those ceiling fans regularly in the summer when it's hot. Our house also is very tightly sealed and well insulated. The foundation walls are insulated, which you can see a little bit of that on the bottom of that picture. The insulation is all on the outside of those foundation walls, which allows that concrete mass to be part of the interior of the house and adding additional thermal mass. And then we also have offset studs, which you can kind of see if you look at the stud patterns. Half of the studs are flush with the outer part of the wall, and half of them with the inner part of the wall. It's a 2x8 top and bottom plate with 2x6 studs, and that allows the insulation to wrap in between the studs, which eliminates any thermal bridging across that wood structure directly from inside to outside. We also installed spray foam at all the potential gaps around the studs and the rim joists and around the electrical boxes. And we have good insulation. This is not extreme insulation. This is not up to passive house standards, but R28 walls and R49 attic and ceiling, which works actually quite well for our house. We also have a heat recovery ventilator that brings in fresh ventilation air and exhausts, our bathroom exhaust fans actually connect through this. Basically, you have two offset airflows where the bathroom exhaust goes through one side of a heat exchanger and the fresh ventilation air comes in on the other side of that heat exchanger, meaning that when it's cold outside, that outside fresh air is warmed up to inside temperature before it's brought into the house, and warmed up by that stale air that is being exhausted outside. That also runs we have a small ventilation mode that can run continuously, that's not tied into the bathroom fans. It does ramp up when somebody turns on a bathroom exhaust fan. We do have a backup heating system. Most of our heat is coming from the sun, but about 4 days each month during the winter when it's cold and cloudy for several days in a row, we need to have a backup heating system. Our backup heating is run through that heat recovery ventilator. We have a small hot water coil that's fed off of our domestic hot water heater, and that provides our backup heat. We don't need a lot of heat because of the insulation and how tight the house is, and because of our thermal mass, but a little bit of heat helps us get through some of those cold winter nights or winter evenings. And right now our water heater is natural gas, which 8 years ago when we constructed this house, I think made a lot of sense. Now, as the electrical grid is getting cleaner, I think it makes a lot more sense for us to be using a high efficiency electric water heater. So we are looking into changing that out to a air source heat pump water heater, which will eliminate all of our natural gas usage. And at the house, we'll be able to shut off the natural gas meter and significantly reduce our utility bills. On the electric side of our utility, we talked a little bit about the solar PV system on the roof. There's some more details on this slide about that system. It does produce about 32 kilowatt hours per day, averaged over the last 8 years. It's been quite consistent. That amounts to almost 1,000 kilowatt hours per month. And we pay $62 a month on a 20-year fixed payment lease program. That was a zero down lease. So essentially we're paying 6.2 cents per kilowatt hour for the electricity that's being produced. That's a heck of a utility rate, and certainly is about half the cost of what the Excel utility charges in our area. Since it's been installed about 8 years ago, our PV system has produced about 90 megawatt hours, and it produces about twice what we consume. It was a little bit more, it was about 2.5 times until I got an electric car, and we're starting to use some of that excess electricity to charge my electric car. But right now it's still more than twice our consumption, which does more than offset our natural gas usage for hot water and backup heating. And therefore we are a net zero energy house, and we're actually a net energy producer because we actually produce more energy than we consume. We do have a few other additional energy efficiency and sustainability features. Most of our lighting is LED lights. I don't think I've had to change any light bulbs since we've moved into the house, which is a fabulous side benefit besides the low energy usage. We do have a few fluorescent or CFLs that we've put in on some of our lower usage fixtures, mostly because 8 years ago LED light bulbs were quite expensive. Now they are readily available and much cheaper, and I would certainly suggest and recommend that you take your old incandescent light bulbs out, throw them away. I don't suggest throwing things away very often, but I would say throw them away and replace them with LEDs. You will save in energy cost, and you won't ever have to change the light bulb again. So that's a great benefit. We did use low VOC paint, so again, a sustainability feature. All of our water, our plumbing fixtures are all WaterSense rated. For instance, we have dual flush toilets. All of our kitchen appliances are energy efficient. That's one of the main criteria when we go shopping for appliances, is looking for the most efficient. We did buy an induction cooktop, which we think it took me a while to convince my wife that that was a good thing to do, but she has really been converted. She loves it. It actually gives you the benefits of gas and the benefits of electric without any of the downsides of either one. You may have to get some new cooking pans and pots because it requires magnetic, but as you can see there, a cast iron skillet is perfect, and some stainless steel pans work. You just have to make sure that you're looking at the labels and make sure that they are induction ready. We also have a convection oven, which recirculates the hot air inside the oven compartment, which helps to make that process more efficient. So if you were interested in building a net zero energy house, what would I recommend? Well, here are my top 7 important considerations. Certainly house orientation, making sure the long side of the house faces south. Windows and overhangs, you want to make sure you have more larger and high solar heat gain windows to the south, and you have fewer smaller and regular low E windows on the other sides of the house. Make sure you have tight construction with meticulous sealing and insulation. Keep it as airtight as possible. And then because you've tightened it up so much from natural air infiltration, you do need to have a mechanical ventilation system that you can control what's happening with that. And there's 2 choices, heat recovery ventilators and energy recovery ventilators. The difference is the energy recovery ventilator will exchange the humidity as well as the temperature, which in some areas of the country is where you're dehumidifying a lot, is really important. In Colorado, I've heard good arguments for both directions. I think ERVs are becoming more common in Colorado. 8 years ago, I chose the HRV because it's a little bit simpler, and I do like, even though I'm a mechanical engineer, I do like simple mechanical systems. Thermal mass, you definitely want to include some level of thermal mass, and there's many ways to do that. In our house, you saw that we have many different methods for doing the thermal mass, but you definitely want to include some of that. You want an efficient water heater. Besides space heating and cooling, the most energy intensive part of your house is water heating. And I would certainly recommend going electric and looking at the new hybrid heat pump or air source heat pump water heaters. Those have great efficiency factors, and the people that I've talked to that have them are very happy with them. And not only the water heater, but all your other appliances, make sure that they're energy efficient. And then once you've done all of those things, do install a PV system to match or slightly exceed your consumption. Where we're at with two times our energy consumption is probably not recommended, because then you're paying for a larger PV system than you need. At the time, I wanted to oversize it because in case we had 2 electric cars in the future, and then converting our appliances to electric as well. So how can you do this? Well, each of those 7 topic areas that we just went through, those could have a whole lecture on each one of those topics to give you details on each item. There's lots of background. There's lots of books that are available, lots of material on the internet. Take some classes. We took a class from adult education at the University of Colorado when we were thinking about this, and we learned lots of great information. Go to the solar tour of homes. Wherever you are in the country, in the Metro Denver area, we have the Metro Denver Green Homes Tour, the first Saturday of October. This year it's going to be virtual. Our house is participating in that. That's a great way to get wonderful ideas and see how different people have implemented some of these ideas that works for them. And then talk to experts. Talk to those people who have built the houses. Talk to the people who live in those houses. Learn from their mistakes. Find out what works and use it. Find out what doesn't work and find alternatives to those. In the construction process, there are lots and lots of decisions. If you are going to move into trying to build a house, you have to have a certain mental state to deal with all of the construction headaches that come along with constructing a house. It's a wonderful process, but it can be really intimidating to people who are not ready for it. There are so many decisions along the way. So my advice is to decide early in the process what your most important factors are, and then stick to it. There are people who will try to convince you otherwise all along the way. Choosing tile, that back wall, the tile that's on the back wall. We could have gone with lighter colored tile or not tile or whatever, but looking at the energy considerations, the dark tile made the most sense. And then enlist a team that at least generally supports your goals. Your builder, your construction contractor, your architect, any of your consultants. Really, you need to explain to them what it is that you're going after and make sure that they're on board, because they really are key contributors to the success of your project. So with that, I am done with my presentation. I thank you very much for participating, and I look forward to seeing you on a future tour of solar and/or green homes. Thank you.